Tell us a little bit about the reaction to his appointment at Villa.
Yeah, I think a lot of Liverpool fans are absolutely intrigued by it in terms of, I think it's a really interesting next step for him. And I think it just feels to me like a fantastic opportunity. I think everyone knows that Steven Gerrard's ultimate dream is to manage Liverpool, but he was very clear from the outset that he knew that there was a pathway to making that happen. And I think he's been very careful all the way along in terms of making his career choices. He could have started off in League One or League Two with the amount of offers he had. Yet he started in the academy ranks at Liverpool. Then he took the plunge up at Rangers. I think he did an amazing job there, transforming them into champions again and going that season unbeaten. But I think there just always would have been, I think if he'd stayed at Rangers and then maybe the Liverpool job had come up in 2024, which is when we expect it to come up at the end of Klopp's contract, I just think there always would have been that nagging doubt of, no matter what he did in Scotland between now and then, that whether some people like it or not, it is only Scottish football. It is still a big step up into a much more competitive environment in the Premier League. So, I think there's a lot of intrigue and excitement to see how he gets on. I think you immediately look at Villa's fixtures now, and you think you want to see Gerrard against Benitez, you want to see Gerrard against Rodgers, you want to see Gerrard against Klopp in a few weeks. I know Liverpool fans who now there's an absolute clamour to get tickets for that game at Anfield against Villa on December the 11th. Usually Villa at home wouldn't be one of the standout fixtures, but it is now. So a huge amount of interest at Liverpool fans, and they'll be watching his progress closely.
Do you think he could have stayed at Rangers and realistically in a few years, let's say he won a couple more league titles, do you think that would have been enough to get the Liverpool job there? I mean, I don't even want to talk about this because obviously my plan is that he might stay at Villa for a long time before he leaves to go to Liverpool one day. But do you think that would have been enough to get the Liverpool job? Or do you think he needed a Premier League job?
I think he needed a Premier League job. Yeah, I think I just think there would have been that kind of like nagging feeling of, well, as much as of the great job he's done there, it is just different in it's a different environment south of the border with how competitive the Premier League is. The greater resources he's obviously going to have at his disposal at a big club like Villa. So this for me feels like the perfect progression for him, and the fantastic staff that he's surrounded himself with. And I know, I'm sure, Dan, you're the same in terms of heard from and spoken to various Villa fans, obviously maybe don't like the idea of it, being described as a stepping stone. And of course, you never ever will you hear Steven Gerrard use those words. He would say that's massively disrespectful to Aston Villa, and his only focus is on Villa, and I believe that. But the reality is, if he is going to succeed Jurgen Klopp, then he's going to have to do a fantastic job for Villa. So, and we're talking about summer of 2024, and there's so much short-termism in football these days. There aren't many managers who stay in one place for 3 years anyway. So if and it is still a big if, Steven Gerrard is the next Liverpool manager, then Villa are going to have benefited massively from his achievements between now and then.
Yeah, could do with him putting his sabbatical off a little bit. Jurgen Klopp, I feel like that's a little bit too soon. Every Villa fan will know that he one day wants to manage Liverpool. It was the same when John Terry was coach. If Chelsea had come calling for him to be coach, he'd have gone off to Chelsea. His loyalty is with Liverpool, his love is with Liverpool, but he will be fully focused on Villa. And I just wonder whether Klopp, now we've got Michael Edwards who's departed, maybe Klopp might put that sabbatical off a little bit.
I'm not sure. I think, everyone I speak to about Klopp's future seems pretty convinced that he's pretty determined at the moment that summer of 2024, he will take a break. I think, that's Klopp has always been very clear that, first of all, he's very respectful of contracts. And secondly, he doesn't want to be one of those managers who's managing deep into kind of his 60s and even older than that. I think he's made that promise to his family that at various points he will take a break, he will slow down. So whenever it's come up in conversation since, and of course, when Liverpool signed a raft of new contract extensions for key players back in the summer, it became a talking point then, because suddenly you're in a situation where you've got, you know, a lot of players who are now committed for a longer period than the manager is. But you know, the reality is, if Klopp wanted to stay longer, then the owners, FSG, would, you know, almost let him write his own contract. You know, that's the reality. And, you know, who knows, he might have a change of heart between now and then. But at the moment, you know, all signs point to Klopp stepping down in the summer of 2024, which and I just think, you know, we always look ahead and try to have the crystal ball where football is concerned, but we all know that football changes so fast. And, you know, it's someone who's the flavour of a month now may well not be the case in 6, 12, 18 months further down the line. And, you know, I do think when the discussions about Klopp's potential successor happen, you know, I don't think people should underestimate the respect that the owners have for Pep Lijnders, who's Klopp's assistant at the moment. You know, he may not have, you know, much experience as being a number one anywhere, but in terms of footballing knowledge and expertise, and, you know, Klopp essentially gives him absolute 100% responsibility for the coaching program, designing it, implementing it. You know, he has wide-ranging responsibilities already, and the owners are massive fans of his. So I think, you know, that's another intriguing aspect to it.
So, James, where does Gerrard fit into all of this? Because if Klopp is to go and have a sabbatical, surely it's a pretty big job to come into straight away for someone like Gerrard, who you'd think maybe needs another sort of big job under his belt before he follows in the shoes and footsteps of someone who has achieved so much at Liverpool. Yeah,
I think at the moment it's too soon to say exactly where he fits in. I think he could do enough great work at Villa between now and the summer of 2024 to leave the vast majority of Liverpool fans firmly in the belief that he's ready. I don't think he needs another stepping stone after Villa. Villa are a huge club. You look at the history and the tradition, the stadium, the fan base. You know, they're punching well below their weight when you look at that Premier League table at the moment. I think that's another big attraction for him, the fact he knows he's only taking Villa one way. So I think, yeah, if he was to get Villa, you know, back into that, you know, top 7 or 8, even, you know, I'm sure he will have his sights set on taking them back into European football in the next season or two. If he does that and they perform well at that level, then why can't he be the next Liverpool manager? I think, you know, I think so much will be dictated by events, by how he does at Villa, by, you know, does Klopp stick to his guns? Does he have another couple of years? You could argue maybe another couple of years further down the line, if Klopp does have a change of heart and stay a bit longer, that Steven Gerrard will be even more ready for it. You know, would 2024 come a bit too soon? I know people looked at the contract length and said, oh, well, actually, he signed for a year longer than you know, the Liverpool, you know, would effectively ideally want, if you like, because of when the Liverpool job could come up. But that wouldn't have been part of his thinking, because he would know there's no point looking that far ahead. You just can't in football. Steven Gerrard knows that better than anyone. You have to live in the here and now. And I think the big thing for Villa is, you know, with the way that Gerrard is, he's a winner. Like, he's a born winner. He doesn't do anything half-heartedly. He will commit 100%. He won't have his eye on the Liverpool job. He will have his eye on doing the best as he possibly can for Aston Villa, and then, you know, it'll be a case of let's see what happens after that, and there will be other names in the mix, as we said before. You know, Pep Lijnders will be an incredibly strong candidate as well. So yeah, it will be determined by results. It will be determined by Klopp decides himself. But one thing's for sure, you know, if Steven Gerrard is going to be the next Liverpool manager, then he will have done, you know, a fantastic job for Villa in the time between.